on the next Dr. Phil. A televangelist scandal.
You had an affair, correct?
The unanswered questions.
Are you sorry for what took place, or are you sorry you got caught?
Why did he risk losing his wife?
There were days that I screamed and I cried.
Did you blame yourself for this at all?
And his ministry.
Do you feel like you betrayed your followers?
God betrayed everybody.
But you knew that would be the effect when you did it.
All new Dr. Phil.
Prominent televangelist who claims today that he is the victim of a multi-million-dollar extortion scheme.
We are here today to celebrate the goodness and the grace of God.
Marcus Lamb, who has co-founded the Dallas-based global Christian network Daystar Television, says that 3 people wanted cash to keep quiet about an affair that he had with a woman several years ago.
When we were threatened and this $7.5 million demand was made, we didn't consider for 1 second to pay it.
With that threat, we knew we're going to go ahead and share our story.
Well, it was just last week that Marcus and Joni Lamb, founders of Daystar, the fastest growing Christian network in the world, went public about an affair that Marcus had several years ago. You all have a terrific show, you have a terrific ministry and Christian network, and now all of this has happened. Now, I understand that at the end of November, you were the target of a demand. You had an affair in the past, correct?
Yes, sir. These 3 individuals came forth and said, if you don't pay us $7.5 million, then we're going to take our information to the media.
Mm-hmm. So this alleged attempt was to extract millions of dollars from y'all under the risk of bringing you down. And Joni, you were very strong about saying, not going to do it. We're going to go out, we're going to talk about this, and just put it out there for everybody to see and hear.
Yes. On the day that I found out, I came home. He was flying in from a trip, and I had been one of those people that always said, if my husband cheated on me, that I would divorce him. You know, I was one of those hardliners. And I just remember, you know that we're people of faith, obviously. And so the only thing I knew to do at that point was to pray, and that's what I did. And when I did, I really sensed in my heart that God was saying to me, he's worth fighting for, and your marriage is worth fighting for. And so...
And Dr. Phil, when Joni approached me with this information, I was in such despair. I thought, I've lost my marriage, I'm going to lose our children, I'm going to lose the ministry that God had entrusted me with that was so dear. But when she said those words that the Lord had spoken to her and said, Marcus is worth fighting for, it was a glimmer of hope in my heart. And that's when I said, Joni, I'll do whatever it takes to make this right and to heal the hurt.
Now, I had that calm and peace for that moment, Dr. Phil, but later I did not have the calm.
You got hot about this, right?
Yes.
I mean,
and rightfully so.
Oh, yes.
You got plenty mad.
Oh, I did, because immediately the day after we went and called Fred and Anna Kendall, who are counselors who we knew that had helped so many marriages. But oh yeah, I mean, it was a very hard and difficult process that we went through for about 9 months to a year. But we wanted to do that privately. And one of the things that Fred...
Well, our counselors had advised us to do that.
Yeah.
They said it would be very difficult to heal if we brought that to the public's attention at that time.
Well, let's talk about this. I mean, because there are 2 different points that we have to discuss here. One is you're in the public eye, not just as celebrities, but as people of faith that are ministers that are leading people. And so folks can feel a sense of betrayal that, you know, here you've been up talking all of this high faith-based rhetoric, and in fact, you're sneaking around having an affair. You know, that's one level that you have to think about. And then the other is what happens between the 2 of you. Do you feel like you betrayed your followers?
Well, I feel like I betrayed everybody. I betrayed the Lord. I betrayed Joni, my family, our followers, and I'm so sorry for that.
But I've known you a long time, and you knew that would be the effect when you did it. What did you say in your head that made it okay in the moment?
Well, it was, you know, a long process, and it was just a gradual thing, and finally you just get to a point to where you get into deception, and you make a choice that you don't realize the ramifications of it at the moment.
Well, I think it's important. One of the things we learned in counseling is that, I mean, early on it was an emotional relationship. I mean, there was no sex involved for years. It was just an emotional relationship where there were phone calls, there were emails, that kind of thing. And you know, as we worked through this process, I think that was one of the things that, you know, became apparent for both of us, is that accountability is so important in marriage. So, you know, we have access to each other's computers and phones and, you know, all of the Facebook and all of the social networking that we have available today that are destroying a lot of marriages. You know, that's why we, you know, we have that accountability with one another. But I think that that was an important part of it, to understand that, you know, he's someone who would say, I never thought I would be caught in that trap.
That's right. In
a million years. I mean, he was someone that would say that. We've helped, I mean, hundreds of couples over the years. But I think it was that emotional tie that started it, and then eventually became sin.
How'd you find out?
There was an individual that cared about me and cared about him, that had some information where they believed that this could be going on, and they came to me and shared the information with me, and I confronted him the same day.
And you knew this woman?
Yes.
Because you said you had recognized something wasn't right early on. Well, what did you, because women want to know, what did you say to yourself
well,
about
when
that?
we were at home and stuff, there would be times when there would be phone calls, or he'd be in his office, or he'd be on his computer, and he seemed to be very protective of his computer. And so, but I had no idea that it was anything beyond something emotional, but we began to argue about that near the end, right before I found out.
Mm-hmm. So when you did find out, it was like, aha, all that fell into place.
It did. It was still shocking for me, though, to deal with.
Why did y'all want to be here today?
One reason, and it is why we do what we do every day, and that is to encourage people that you can make it through even something what we've gone through, and that marriage is worth fighting for, and that marriage is not just a commitment between a husband and a wife, but it's a commitment between a husband and a wife and God. And it's, for us, people of faith, it's covenant. And also to, you know, I'll just say this, from the time that we went through this, and even went through the years of our process of healing and restoration, I did so many shows on this because I became passionate about helping people. And I'd always wanted to help people, but I became passionate about marriage. And so, you know, some of the issues that we dealt with was pornography and adultery, and, you know, all of the things that that people are going through today. And I think the church, for so long, you know, we just want to pretend like these things don't go on in the church, but they do. And I think it's, you know, it's time for us to speak up and speak to it and talk about it and try to help people.
And Dr. Phil, you asked, why would we come on your show? You know, so many other shows have invited us, but most of them, it's a sensational angle. But we know how loving and redemptive you are to help people, and we felt safe to come and share. My heart is, if I have to be humiliated to help prevent somebody else from getting in a situation like this, or if they're in a trap right now, that maybe this will give them hope and they'll get out of that trap and they can be healed, then that's why we're here to share today.
Marcus Lamb, the head of Daystar Television Network, told viewers that 3 people tried to extort millions from him to keep his affair private. During the broadcast, Lamb apologized for the affair and had a message to viewers.
I'm so sorry. I've asked God to forgive me years ago. I asked my precious Joni, I said, honey, I'll do whatever it takes to heal the hurt and right the wrong. I take 100% responsibility. Joni has no blame. The other person doesn't have any blame. It's all, I don't even blame the devil. It's all on me.
Well, Marcus had this affair several years ago, and when Joni confronted him, they reached out to Fred and Anna Kendall, who have been counseling couples on marriage for over 30 years.
When we first met with Joni and Marcus, I said, Joni, do you want to make this marriage work? And she said, absolutely. Then we turned to Marcus. Now, what I was looking for in Marcus, would he be transparent?
He opened up immediately. He was totally transparent. and was, like he said, taking 100% responsibility.
I've dealt with men in ministry and men in leadership and other positions who got into situations like that, and most of the time, I'm sad to say, most of them are not very transparent, and they're very protective of their image. I really bared in on Marcus, because Marcus was the key, and if he's not going to stand, he needs to fall.
You guys have, you've counseled thousands, actually, of couples.
Yes, yes. Fred has probably counseled over 10,000.
Yeah,
but
a lot.
That's because he's really old, and he's been around a long time.
So, did these guys get real when they came in and sat down with y'all?
Yes. Well, the first thing I wanted to find out right away was, were they willing to work at it, one or both of them? Because we believe a marriage can be saved if just one of the parties wants to work at it. It's possible to save a marriage. And if both want to, you know, it's almost a home run if both will be then, they'll work at it and then be accountable.
Right.
And I wanted to find out if Marcus was going to be transparent and he was going to be repentant. I mean, you know, sorry for the whole thing. Then I wanted to find out if Joni could forgive him, because unforgiveness creates a root of bitterness. You know, they just get bitter, and it doesn't get better. And I want you to know, I believe I know the difference between being embarrassed, ashamed, sorry that I got caught, sorry that I'm hurting other people. Gee, I'm going to tell you, I really sincerely believe, and began to believe after about the 4th session. Now, I didn't start there, but about the 4th or 5th session, I told Ann, I said, I think he's genuinely sorry. I think he is ill almost over grieving God, most of all, then over damaging his wife, and over the fact that this could ruin them. And, you know, we went through some steps, and the last step that we went through was, next to last was, first of all, keep it private as long as you can, because when people are sick, they need to be in intensive care.
Give themselves some time to heal.
Give themselves some time
public.
to heal. And we set up an accountability that included her mom and dad and some other people.
Including us.
And then I said, be prepared. Somebody's going to want to exploit it one day. Be hyper-vigilant. Somebody will try to exploit it. And when they do, go public. That's the time to go public. But don't rush it. Get well.
People ask me all the time, Dr. Phil, can relationships survive infidelity? Mm-hmm. And my answer is always, of course they can. Yes. But as Fred and Anna say, it takes two people. It takes you being willing to forgive and not make it a life sentence. And it makes you owning it and realizing that until she knows, and forget about being ministers for a minute. I'm just talking to just you two, you this couple. Unless she knows that you get it, that you get what this did to her, not as a minister, but as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, unless and until she knows you get it, she will never, ever be able to turn this loose.
Yes.
Unless she knows you get what this did, what message it sends to her, what questions it causes her to ask herself as a woman and a wife. And I sense that you do get that.
Thank you.
Do you?
Yes, sir, I believe I do.
You know what this did to her?
Yes, sir, I do.
You know, I think that me having to watch, you know, and be in the counseling sessions with, because Fred, as you can see, former Marine, is not going to be easy on him. But, you know, watching that process, I mean, he was genuinely repentant, and I watched, you know, him watch me, and I know that was the most devastating thing for him of all, to watch me go through what I went through. And, you know, Dr. Phil, if he had been an abusive or, you know, husband, or been mean, or, you know, not supportive, or, you know, we've been married 28 years, that 20 plus years that he had been a wonderful husband and has been a wonderful father, you know, I don't know that I could have fought for him to the degree that I did had I didn't have all of that history. So we had a lot of history.
Joni and I had such a wonderful marriage for so many years.
And next to me is my sweetheart.
I just assumed that I would never do anything in an improper way. I always thought that would never happen to me.